Hey everybody, welcome back to Realms Remembered. This is Michael T. Bradley with you once again. So let's see, let's start out with 1325, Escape from Undermountain. This was an interesting book. I think the most interesting thing about it is that it starts out, it is so brutal. It starts out with what appears to be a low-level adventuring party in Undermountain. They're having this great time, and they're like, woo, we can take this one haul, and we can relax and retire, and it's going to be awesome, and we've got gems, and then they are killed in horrible, vicious ways, and one of them is like scrambling up a rope to get back to the bar where they came from, and the guy's like, oh, it costs a gold piece to get back, you don't have one, cuts the rope, and he falls into like these horrible rats that rip his face off. That's a way to start a book. Then it gets kind of ridiculous. It's part of the Noble series, which didn't really seem to have anything to do with the book itself. One of the main characters in the party is a noble, so I guess there's that. But essentially, he's useless for 3/4 of the book, and he's always kind of the not like the comedy sidekick, but practically that. Speaking of the comedy sidekick, in this book, I think it's intended to be this skull named, I believe, Morty, which is a little odd since there was a talking skull named Mori in the Planescape video game. I don't know if Planescape was in any way influenced by that. I looked, and this author didn't seem to be involved with it, so who knows. Overall, I enjoyed this book. I mean, it's eminently skimmable, and it is, at the end of the day, a huge advertisement for Ruins of Undermountain, I'm guessing, because it really, really read like that, especially towards the end. There's this bit, for various plot reasons, they are bopping around Undermountain very, very fast from location to location, and you see tons of different things, and it just very much felt like it was like, look kids, you can find out about this and more if you just get Ruins of Undermountain, available now at your local retailer, and da-da-da-da-da. But really fun, and just... It very much feels like, try to imagine a fantasy novel done as like an 80s movie. There's even this ridiculously bizarre bit at the end where our main character, who's like a quarter orc guy, trying to remember, is he a thief? I've been reading a lot of these lately. I think he's a quarter orc thief, and there's this female wizard, and like she puts her arm in the noble's arm, and the main character's like, hey, wait a minute, I thought the hero's always got the lady in the end. And she's like, not in this tale, I prefer them tall and blonde, or something like that. And it's like, well, there was no like sexual chemistry between any of the characters at all, so why would we, you know, it's just it feels very 80s movie, like, oh crap, we gotta put a romantic subplot in there, and oh, we'll just write it off with a stupid line, and it was very, very odd. Also, it gets frustrating at times that the characters in this book are so incredibly frustratingly stupid. Like, for instance, the quarter orc is sent into Undermountain to retrieve this noble, ostensibly, and pretty quickly you find out that, oh, it was a trap, he's screwed over, and he's the little thing he uses to get him out of there with the noble backfires, and oh, he's trapped now deeper in Undermountain. It didn't work like they thought it would. And then much later in the book, it's revealed that one of the other characters is actually working for that same noble, and they have a means to supposedly get them out of the mountain. And they're all like, awesome, let's use that. And it's like, this is the same person that betrayed the first character and wanted them trapped in Undermountain forever so they would die. Why in God's name would you think that this second thing would work? So of course they use it, and they're trapped further down. And also there's this whole like Escape from New York sort of thing, that the main character's got this tattoo on his wrist that's like, you know, once it hits 48 hours, you will die. And I'm like, well, the thing's like throwing him farther into Undermountain. I bet it's fake, because why would this guy spend all the money to get a sorcerer to do like death magic that's got a permanency seal? I mean, that seems... I guess he's a noble, so maybe it's not a big deal to him, but it just seemed like, well, I would assume that thing's fake. Like, they kept having this countdown, countdown, countdown because of it, and I'm like, I doubt you're gonna die, dude. Like, why would that guy pay to have that done? But I don't know. I think it turned out to be real in the end, which was just bizarre to me, but whatever. So, yeah, we're in this period of, of Realms literature, which I find highly enjoyable, though I gotta admit I'm kind of to the point where I'm getting a little sick of it, where everything reads like, in a sense, it's kind of meant to be like an addendum to the player's handbook. You know, it's like, oh, here's how this acts and here's how this works. Like, for instance, it's probably the worst that it's gotten in the next book on the list, which is from 1340. It looks like Pool of Radiance. Now, I love this book. I found it highly amusing and super fun, and you know, a lot of skimming, but just tons of great stuff, and especially to show you how you can work with a party and kind of have them go through the motions and have a fun time. Like, again, characters incredibly stupid. Like, one of the first bits is this young female wizard puts on a wishing ring and then says something, I can't remember which one comes first, but she says something and she phrases it as a wish, and something really horrible happens. And she's like, oh crap, I can't believe I did that. I wish, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And then something else really horrible happens because she just immediately does it again, and you're like, oh man. Like, I understand it was there to push the plot forward and everything, but it really made her look clown shoes right from the beginning, so it was tough to kind of feel anything for her after that, but whatever. And then this book is just over-the-top silliness with a lot of things. Like, at one point a dragon reflects on the fact that he's lawful good, which I don't think alignment is meant to really be quite that out in the open for characters to think about in that sort of way. Oh, and like, one of them is a priest of Tyr, is it? I think, and there's this whole kind of explanation for why Tyr priests can't use swords. And it's like, you know, it's one of those rules things that you always kind of like glaze over in second edition, but or first edition. This had to be during second edition. I think it was written in the 90s, but it's, you know, it's one of those kind of silly rules things that you kind of laugh and shake your head at, whatever. But they, for some reason, decided to make an entire chapter out of that. Again, it just feels very much like it's like, in case your players ask about this, you can tell them, oh, you know, they tackle this problem in Pool of Radiance. And there are some other silly things like, oh, this like undead zombie master talking, it's like an old EC comic. I had it highlighted and then I totally lost it. I accidentally deleted it from my Kindle, but it's like, you know, like, you shall pay, and like they literally write that out and everything. But it's really cool, and the thing that's bizarre is that in both of these books, and a lot of these older ones seem to have this tendency, seems completely out of place to me, but they have this weird habit of putting in these intense emotional subplots. Like, for instance, there's a lot in Escape from Undermountain about the guy trying to deal with being a quarter orc and dealing with like his half-orc father who used to beat him intensely, and having to overcome that and find any sort of self-confidence. But even that one is not as strangely soap opera as in Pool of Radiance, where one of the bad wishes that female sorcerer makes is she makes herself much stronger, and so suddenly she's in this like muscular body, and they make a point to let you know over and over again that she's still really hot, but she's like big and muscular, and there's tons of stuff about her and her body image and hating her body, and it just feels as if suddenly, randomly, it turns into kind of a Ramona, a Beverly Cleary book, you know, like Blubber or something, and it's really sad and hits home emotionally. So yeah, it's this weird up and down roller coaster, but I think it works, and I enjoyed adding that to the mix. And that one is also very kind of Dawson's Creek in that sense that like there's this love triangle, and they just keep going on and on about this love triangle as if we should care. Like, you know, it's like love triangle, self-image issues, let's go fight frogs. You know, I mean, it's that kind of up and down that's a little odd, but I find incredibly endearing. Don't know if you will feel the same way. Alright, just going to tackle those two books for now. Hopefully be back soon. Thanks for listening. Realms Remembered. Bye-bye. Feel free to leave comments, and I would love to start a discussion about any of these. Goodbye.